Hello my beautiful beading friends, welcome to Misty Moon Designs. My name's Luisa. I have a real treat for you today. We're going to be opening up the Curated Bead Box for the month of July. We're going to take a look at the contents and then I'll show you how to make a very pretty double strand necklace. Now if you're not familiar with Curated Bead Box, I'll leave some information down below along with a link to the website and a coupon code in case you're interested. And don't forget, I always model my jewelry at the end of my videos, so please stick around for that. Also, if you want to skip the unboxing, I'll leave some timestamps down below so you can go straight to the project. As you can see, this double strand necklace features a very pretty hummingbird pendant with a patina, as well as some glass beads in coordinating colors. I'm going to show you how to make it step by step. Whether you're a beginner or advanced, hopefully you'll enjoy today's tutorial. And I can't wait to show you the contents of the box and how to make this project. So let's go ahead and get started. And here we have the Curated Bead Box for the month of July 2025. As you can see, the name of this box is Flight of Fancy, and I love hummingbirds, I really do. And it looks like they included a couple of hummingbird pendants. They're so adorable. And we have a little bonus item here, a beadable pen. But anyway, let's go ahead and open it up. I love these colors, and look, they included an organza bag, so that's nice. And so they have the pen, the beadable pen. A little bit about this box. It's a subscription. It comes out every month, and it goes for $20 a month, and it includes glass beads, and sometimes charms or pendants, and the Finding Starter Kit, which we'll take a look at the end. Let me get organized, and we'll go through each of these items. Here we have 4 strands of 10mm size beads. We have some plums and some purples. Let's take a look at this strand. These are crackle glass beads, and the color of this strand is midnight blue. And here we have a strand of spot marble style glass beads, and you can see why it's called spot marble. It's definitely a spotted effect, and the color of these beads is brown and turquoise. And here's another strand of spot marble style glass beads, but this one's in a plum color, and it does have a touch of blue as well. And here we have another strand of crackle glass beads, and the color of this one is plum, very similar to the one that I just showed you. Let me get some more beads. Here we have 2 more strands. These measure 6mm in size, and these measure 8mm. And it looks like both of them are spot marble style glass beads. Let's take a look at this one. The color of this one is listed as golden, but to me it looks like a tan color. The color of this one is brown with turquoise, but it's a very dark brown. And I'm definitely going to have to find a way to use these because I like the size. Let me get some more items. And here we have a bead mix, and we have these golden filigree metal beads, and of course these gorgeous hummingbird pendants. Let me just slide some of these on my rod and I'll show them to you. I don't think I have one of each kind because look at that. There are so many other beads there. It's incredible. It's definitely a mix, as you can see, but the colors are primarily green and blue. And of course you can see all the different types of beads and how they're drilled. Some are disc beads, some are teardrop shaped beads, some are bicones. Hopefully my camera is focusing. Sometimes when I have something below, it doesn't focus very well. But anyway, you can see what's in the mix. There's definitely a lot of variety. And there's about 1 ounce worth of beads there. And by the way, the name of this bead mix is the Hummingbird Designer Bead Mix. And they're all glass beads, in case you're wondering. Let me slide some of these filigree beads onto my rod. We've had these before in the past, but in different colors. And here's 6 of them. These measure 10mm in size, and they're hollow, as you can see, and there's a total of 30. I've used these before in very interesting ways. For example, I've strung them like this, but then I hung a dangle from one of the holes, because as you can see, these beads have lots of holes. How pretty is that? It measures 42 by 38mm, and it has a beautiful patina, as you can see. Let's take a look at the back. There's the back. I like those 2 big loops. Obviously, I'm going to use one of these pendants in today's project. They're actually listed as links, probably because of the 2 loops on the tips of the wings. It reminds me of a very beautiful and memorable event that I had in my backyard a few years ago, and I did post the video. I'm not sure if you had a chance to see it. It was such a beautiful event. I definitely had to share it on my channel back then, but I'm going to go ahead and share it here because it's only about a minute long. think that was a once in a lifetime moment because ever since then, we haven't had a lot of hummingbirds visit us. I live in a very urban area with lots of traffic noises and a lot of aircraft as well, helicopters and such. We do have a lot of flowers for them, and of course we have the hummingbird feeders, but normally what ends up happening is we get a lot of travelers in the fall on their way to a warmer zone. But that was definitely a very magical moment that I'll never forget. Alright, so let me get the bonus item now, the Beadable pen. And here it is. I'm pretty sure this is the first time they've ever included one of these pens. As you can see, we have all these beads to play with. We also have some rhinestone spacer beads, which I really love. And the way it works is, I think it just unscrews like this, and you load the beads on. So let me just try it out. I want to show you these anyway. That's how you do it. And these are really pretty. So anyway, I'm going to have fun with this one for sure. Once you load the beads on, it's going to look really pretty. And of course you don't have to use them for the pen. You can use them on any kind of jewelry project. So now let me get the Finding Starter Kit. And here we have the Finding Starter Kit. If you're new to jewelry making, you're going to appreciate this kit because it has a lot of the things you need to get started. It doesn't have everything, but it has the basics. Let me show you. We have some memory wire, and I think it's 0.7 millimeters in thickness and 60 millimeters in diameter. We have some beading wire, and I think there's about a yard's worth. We have some crimp beads, and these are the round crimp beads, they're not the tubes. We have some flat head pins, and as you can see, they're pretty thick. We have some lobster clasps, and there's a total of 4. We have some stretch cord, and it's pretty thick stretch cord. We have some ear wire hooks, and there's a total of 6. And we have some jump rings, and they're pretty thick as well. I think they measure 6 millimeters across. So as you can see, you have a lot of the basics to get started, so you don't have to go out and buy everything. Like I said, if you're new, this kit's definitely going to come in handy. So here's the entire collection. As you can see, I did bead my pen. I'm not sure if I'm going to keep it like this. I might change the beads around, but I think you get the idea. But anyway, guys, as you can see, this is a value box. You get lots of glass beads and a couple of metal components, and of course the Finding Starter Kit. And you get one of these in every box, usually either in gold or silver. So you get quite a bit for $20. And if you're just starting out, it's a great way to build up your bead stash. So now that we're taking a quick look at the box, let's go ahead and jump into today's project. Here are the beads we're going to be using for today's project. I have the 6mm beads, the spot marble style glass beads, and I have the bead mix. I'm going to show you how to make some beaded components, and then we'll link them together. Now the biggest challenge for me with this project was finding the right amount of beads, and I'm referring to these right here because as you can see, it's a mix. So if you're thinking about making this project, you may not have the exact same beads, but I will leave the dimensions and everything down below in the description section of this video. So if you don't have them, maybe you can go out and buy some, or just compromise and use whatever you have, guys. I mean, that's basically what I had to do with this necklace. So right off the bat, I knew I definitely wanted to use the turquoise colored beads and the sparkly green ones as well. And like I said, I'm going to be making some beaded components, and they'll have one of these beads in the middle with 2 smaller ones on either side. Now I've already played around with this design, obviously, and I actually made a prototype. Whenever I make multi-strand necklaces, I always make a prototype ahead of time, and I use very cheap soft wire. And the reason I do that is because I want to make sure everything hangs properly. But let me show you what I had in mind. I'm going to slide on one of these, and then one of these beads, and one of these. So this is an example of a beaded component. A 6mm bead in the middle, and 2 smaller beads on either side. So anyway, that's the first challenge. I need to fish out the beads I'm going to use. And I'm not going to do it on camera because it's going to take too long. So let me just go ahead and do it off camera, and then I'll come back and show you how to make beaded components. Okay, I've separated my beads, as you can see, and I made little piles so you can see exactly the beads that I'm going to be using. These look like they measure 4mm across. These look like 6, 6, and 4. But like I said, guys, it all depends on what you have in your mix. It may be different. I lucked out because basically I was able to find enough beads to make the components that I need. So now we're going to get started. I'm going to be using some 22 gauge wire, and this color is actually hematite, but as you can see, it's a very warm hematite color, which makes it look kind of bronzy, and that's why I like using it. I'm using 22 gauge because I want my piece to look more on the delicate side. Sometimes when you use thicker gauges, it can make the beaded components look a little bit more chunky. So you need to keep that in mind. And I am going to do simple loops. Usually I use either 20 or 22 gauge for simple loops. A couple of weeks ago, somebody asked me if I test my pieces for durability, and the answer is yes, I do test them. But just like anything else, you need to be careful with your jewelry. If you tug on it really hard, of course it's going to come apart. But that's true of any piece, even the commercially bought pieces. It's happened to me before many times. And you may hear a crow in the background. He has been making noise all morning long, I swear. I don't know what his problem is. I don't mind the sound of birds, but I don't like the sound of crows. They can be pretty obnoxious sometimes. But anyway, he's making some kind of a ruckus and he's not going to stop anytime soon because he's been doing it pretty much all morning. Now, in order for me to show you how to do this, I'm going to have to put these beads off to the side because if I don't, my camera won't focus very well. So let me go ahead and remove them. I have a piece of wire here. It measures about 1.5 inches. Using these tapered flatteners pliers, I'm going to grab the end at about 3/8 of an inch down, bend it. Using my round nose pliers, I'm going to grab the end, making sure the wire is flush with my barrels, and I'm going to form a loop. You want to make sure your loop is centered and closed, like that. Let me grab my beads. I'm going to go ahead and slide on one of these and one of these 6mm beads and another one like that. And now I'm going to grab the wire right above the bead, leaving a little bit of space so that I can form a kink or a bend. Let me turn that bottom loop so it's lined up. Bend it. Cut off the excess, leaving 3/8 of an inch or so. Grab the end and form a loop. And now I'm going to line up my loops just like that. Can you believe those birds? There must be more than one crow because they're sure making a lot of noise. I have another piece of wire here. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to grab the wire at the top, 3/8 of an inch down, bend it, grab the end, form a loop, just like that. Let me bring my beads back. This time I'm going to select one of these crystals and one of these opaque beads and another crystal. If I can grab it, just like that. I'm going to grab the wire right above the bead, bend it, cut off the excess, leaving 3/8 of an inch. Grab the end and form a loop. Let me straighten my loops out. So that's the second beaded component. I'm going to make 3 different kinds. So let me show you the third one. Here's another piece of wire. I'm going to bend it, grab the end, form a loop. Let me get my beads. This time I'm going to use one of these blue crystals. One of these opaque beads and another blue crystal, like that. Let me grab the wire above the bead, line up the bottom loop, bend it, cut off the excess, leaving 3/8 of an inch. Grab the end and form a loop. Line up the loops. So these are the 3 different kinds of components that I'm going to be making, and I'll be making more of this kind and less of these 2 because of the number of beads I have. So anyway, let me go ahead and make some more off camera, and then when I come back, we'll link the components together. So I'll see you in a few moments. As you can see, I've created my beaded components and I've arranged them the way I want them. So now I'm going to link them all together and I'm going to use jump rings. I'm going to use 5mm jump rings, and that's very easy to do. I'm going to go ahead and open up a jump ring. Slide my pendant into it. Slide the next component into it as well. And close it up. Hopefully the camera's focusing. So there's my first beaded component connected. Let me open up another one. I'm going to slide the loop into it and the next one, the next component, and close it up. You want to make sure you close your jump rings really well. I like to flatten mine to make sure they're closed. And that's how I'm going to do all of them. So let me keep going. Okay, everything's connected. Now we just have to finish it off, and that's also very easy to do. I'm going to use a couple of closed rings at the top. Obviously the jump rings and the closed rings did not come in the box. They're from my own stash. Now, if you don't have closed rings, you can always just use jump rings. That would work as well. So now let's talk about the loops and the jump rings and the orientation of them. Obviously your pendant's going to sit flat up against your chest, which means that anything you connect to it needs to be vertical. So this jump ring is obviously vertical, but this component has loops that are horizontal or parallel to the mat. So vertical, horizontal, vertical, horizontal, vertical, horizontal. And I added this jump ring at the end, which is going to sit vertically, but I want to add a couple of other jump rings to create some space between the upper strand and the lower strand. I didn't have enough beads, otherwise I would have made an extra beaded component. So that's one way to get around it. Of course, the other option would be to shorten this one, but for this necklace, I want the top strand to sit very close to the bottom strand. In other words, I don't want a lot of separation. I hope that makes sense. Now I can't add just one jump ring to that. I need to add two, because if this one sits vertically, the next one will sit horizontal, and then I want my last one, the one that's going to connect to that ring, to sit vertically. And that's why I need 3 jump rings. This 5mm one and 2 smaller ones that I'm going to use. I know it's a small detail, but it makes a big difference. And I talk about the orientation of the loops pretty much in all of my videos. So here are 2 more for this side, and 2 more for this side. I'm going to use these 5mm jump rings to connect the upper strand to the rings, but I'm going to connect the lower strand first. So let me open up a jump ring. These are very tiny, they're 4mm in size. Hopefully the camera is focusing. I'm just going to connect it to that 5mm jump ring like this and close it. Sometimes they look like they're closed from this angle, but they're actually not, and that's why I flatten them. And now I'm going to open up this one. Oops. Slide it into this other 4mm jump ring like this, and now the ring. And let me do the same thing to this side. And now I'm going to connect the upper strand. Now I need to make sure that my beaded components aren't all twisted around and they're sitting properly. So let me double check. Horizontal, vertical, horizontal. And now I'm going to So I need to connect this one this way, like this. Let me open up the jump ring. If you've ever had a necklace that doesn't sit properly or it flips around, the strands flip around, that's the reason why. You really need to connect it the right way. Otherwise, you're going to be fighting your necklace constantly. So the strands are connected. I'm pretty happy with this necklace. I think it's so cute. Of course, we need to finish it at the top with some chain. I'm going to use this one right here. This is roller chain, and the links aren't exactly round. They're 3.5 by 3 millimeters, so I guess they're oval links. But anyway, I think it's a really nice chain. I like it. It's a good weight. It's not too dainty, because obviously you don't want dainty chain with all these beads here. So the way I do this is I don't cut it off the spool just yet. What I'm going to do is attach the end to one of the rings. I have a 5 millimeter jump ring and I've already opened it. I'm going to slide the link into it like this, and then the ring, like so. Close up my jump ring. So now what I'm going to do is to take the necklace to the mirror, and I'm going to hold it up to my chest to see how much chain I need. And once I figure it out, I'll cut the chain, and I'll cut 2 pieces, one for this side and one for that side. So let me do that and I'll be right back. Okay, I've attached my chain, as you can see. I ended up cutting 2 3¼ inch pieces. Obviously, you're going to have to figure out how long you want your necklace. Everybody's different, but I think the necklace from this point to the chain measures about 16 inches. It'll probably be a little bit more once I attach the clasp. And by the way, you don't have to count links, guys. If you're new, you may not know this tip, but what you do is you grab your chain like this, the last link, and then you slide this link onto a head pin like this, and that way you can figure out where to cut your chain and you don't have to count links. Here's a lobster clasp, and I do want to attach an extended chain, and I do want to embellish it. I have a couple of beads on a ball head pin. These were leftovers. I didn't have that many left over, but at least I'm able to use these up. I'm going to grab the pin right above the beads like this, bend it, reposition my pliers, wrap the tail around the nose of the pliers, flip the pliers around, and continue to wrap that pin to the back. Let me open it up. Slide my chain into it, like that. I'm going to grab the loop with these skinny pliers, grab the tail, and do a couple of wraps. I think I'll do 3. Cut off the excess using my flush cutters. And I definitely want to tuck that little end in. So there's my extended chain. Here's the 4 millimeter jump ring. I'm going to slide the extended chain into it, and this end of the necklace, and close it. I have another 4 millimeter jump ring. Slide the clasp into it, and this other end. So here's my pretty hummingbird necklace. I think it turned out great. I hope you like it as well. And I hope you can make your own. And I'm going to give you one last tip. You probably noticed that I had the clasp on the left side of the necklace. And I actually did that on purpose. Normally if I'm making a necklace for somebody, I put the clasp on the right side. But since I'm keeping this necklace for myself, I have a very good reason to place the clasp on the left. And I'll explain why. Whenever I'm putting a necklace on, I find it much easier to rotate the necklace towards the front, bringing the clasp from the back to the front of the neck so that I can see what I'm doing when I'm trying to do up the clasp. And when you do that, the clasp ends up on the right side. And since I'm right-handed, it's so much easier to do it that way. I know it's a little different and very unconventional, but that's what works for me. That's just another little tip for those of you who have trouble with clasps. And honestly, I don't know why people don't do that more often, because it's so much easier. I mean, think about it. If you're trying to do up your clasp and it's behind your neck and you can't see what you're doing, that can be pretty frustrating. So anyway, guys, that's just another little tip. You might want to try it someday. I'm pretty sure you're going to find that much easier. But anyway, as always, I'd like to go ahead and model this necklace for you. Thank you so much for watching. I'm looking forward to seeing you again. Have a great day and I'll see you next time. Bye.